So when the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America on Tes Adar Tafshin, we all know the famous words. The Frierdiker Rebbe, in the pier, he turned around and he proclaimed the famous words, America is nicht anders. America is not different. What does it mean America is not different? In the shtetl, pretty much, you walked in the street, you felt Kedusha, Heiligkeit, Ehrlichkeit, shuls all over, men with beards all over, women with their heads covered, sneers. You walked in the street and you felt Yiddishkeit wherever you went. And you came to America, as we all know, people were throwing their tefillin into the water as they came to the shores of America. America is a different place, where working on Shabbos was like a given norm, and so on and so forth. Yet, the Frierdiker Rebbe was aware what's going on here in America, yet he said, America is nicht anders, meaning, despite what we see here in America, we are going to transport all that beauty, that Kedusha, that Ehrlichkeit, that Heiligkeit to the United States of America as it was. That night, Gute Freund of the Frierdiker Rebbe came to visit him in the Greystone Hotel. These weren't critics, these weren't people who were coming to criticize him. These were good friends who had helped facilitate his release, bringing him into America from Europe. And they came to him and they told him, we're very sorry, we want to inform you. We don't know if you realize America is different. This is a plan that, we don't know if this is possible. 4 years later, at a Lubavitch Yeshiva dinner, the Frierdiker Rebbe spoke about that visit that he had from those good friends of his that night. And he said that B'kriyas Shema Shel Hamita that night, he cried bitter tears, more and worse tears than he ever cried in his life. Think about all the suffering the Frierdiker Rebbe went through in Russia, in jail, and everything. He said the tears he cried that night were more powerful, more bitter than he ever cried in his life. And he said at that dinner, he said that now, 4 years after his arrival in America, as the ice von Amerika hat sich geruckt, that the ice of America, the iceberg of America had begun to shift, starting to melt a little bit. The coldness of America is starting to shift a little bit, and we're starting to make inroads into accomplishing what we're trying to accomplish. We find ourselves now in a time where probably the hardest time to be machanech our children than ever. The level of infiltration into our community, of the effects of the outside world, the way it's infiltrating our community, with internet, with the phones, with all the gender stuff, everything, it's just completely, all our children, no one is free of this. All our children are affected by this. And chinuch is very difficult, very, very difficult. Coupled with that, we have an awareness, which Baruch Hashem, we have this awareness, which we never had before, that there are many children that have suffered trauma and that are hurting from deep emotional scars. And Baruch Hashem, now we have the tools to accommodate them and to understand them and to make exceptions for them and so on and so forth. And this is really something that we hear a lot about. And indeed, we must accommodate these students, make modifications for them, be there to love them. And I'll say as an aside, I believe that every school, all of us have to do our part to embrace these students within our systems and make it work for them and do whatever we can to love them, to look away, to not see what we're not supposed to see, to whatever it means, whatever it takes to make them succeed within our systems as best as we can. But I'm here to share and to speak to myself and to all of you, to give a little bit hisayrus, that equally important to that is to remember that despite all the nisyanis that we're facing with our students, that our students are facing today, as chinuch is nicht anders, Torah is nicht anders, chassidus is nicht anders, the Rebbe's expectation for us as mechanchos are not different. Let us all together, and this is not easy, and I don't say this because I have the answers or because I have it figured out. I say this because I feel that it's becoming harder, and I want to share with all of you, let's all rededicate ourselves, commit ourselves, as much as we're devoting ourselves to accommodating our students who have suffered terrible trauma, and they must be loved and they must be cared for. Let us remember we have a mainstream of students, even though they don't like it, and even though they don't want it, and even if they're stressed, and even if, You know, it's hard. We still need to maintain a high standard of learning and of tznius and of everything, dress code, whatever it takes to keep our schools on a level so we could produce chassidische ehrliche mothers and wives and shluchais. In a letter, the Rebbe writes, Yamim Yavayu, V'dar HaTzayir Yavai, B'tvia Nafshis, Manhigov, U'bifrat El Menale HaYeshivas V'Resheim Leimar, B'pnei Ma Loi HaYchachtem Oisanu Al Darkenu, B'pnei Loi Amartem Lanu Es HaEmes, Amitasa Shel Torah Selakim Chayim B'milua, B'pnei Ma Loi HaYreisem Lanu Es Derech HaChayim, B'chayim HaYom Yormayim. Basically, the Rebbe is saying that there's going to be a time that our children are going to come and ask us, why did you give us a watered-down version? Why did you give us a Yiddishkeit of compromises? Why didn't you tell us the truth of how we have to live as Yidden? So, dear friends, I'm here to share with you that I feel that I want to commit myself, as hard as it is, with all the influences, to keep maintaining our standards of Chassidishkeit, of Yiddishkeit, of tznius, and of learning. Please join me in this endeavor, and together may we be successful in raising beautiful Chassidish mothers, wives, and shluchos who will make us all proud and stand on the front lines. May it be now as we greet Mashiach. Thank you.